A shanty boy was simply a logger, a lumberjack, so called because of the logging shanties that were so characteristic of their trade. Good folk songs always spring up where men work hard and or dangerously, on land, on sea, in prisons, on the farm, in mines and mills, and in the forests. After the trees were felled, they would be pushed into the rushing rivers, and in river narrows they would often jam up, blocking the flow of the logs. The jam on Gerry's rocks tells of such a log jam. Come all you true-born shanty boys, wherever you may be, come sit ye on the deacon seat and listen unto me. I'll sing the jam on Gerry's rock, and a hero you should know, the bravest of all shanty boys, the foreman, young Monroe. 'Twas on a Sunday morning ere daylight did appear. The logs were piling mountain high, we could not keep them clear. Cheer up, my rivermen, relieve your hearts of woe. We'll break the jam on Gerry's rock, cried our foreman, young Monroe. Now some of them were willing, while others hid from sight. To break a jam on Sunday, they did not think it right, till 6 of our brave shanty boys did volunteer to go and break the jam on Gerry's rock with our foreman, young Monroe. They had not picked off many logs till Monroe to them did say, I must send you back up the drive, my boys, for the jam will soon give way. Alone he freed the key log then, and when the jam did go, it carried away on the boiling flood our foreman, young Monroe. Now when the boys up at the camp the news they came to hear, in search of his dead body down the river they did steer. And there they found to their surprise their sorrow, grief, and woe. All bruised and mangled on the beach lay the corpse of young Monroe. They picked him up most tenderly, smoothed down his raven hair. There was one among the watchers whose cries did rend the air. The fairest lass of Saginaw let tears of anguish flow, but her moans and cries could not awake her true love, young Monroe. The Mrs. Clark, a widow, lived by the riverside. This was her only daughter, Monroe's intended bride. So the wages of her perished love the boss to her did pay, and a gift of gold was sent to her by the shanty boys next day. When she received the money, she thanked them tearfully, but it was not her portion long on the earth to be, for it was just 6 weeks or so when she was called to go, and the shanty boys laid her at rest by the side of young Monroe. They decked the graves most decently, 'twas on the 4th of May. Come all you true-born shanty boys, and for a comrade pray. Engraven on a hemlock tree, which by the beach did grow, are the name and date of the mournful fate of the foreman, young Monroe. A long time ago, I learned a song which I wrote down but forgot to remember who taught it to me. It was called On the Banks of the Little Pleine, Pleine being a river, and our 2 French words meaning literally full water. One day I was driving way in the backwoods of Wisconsin, and I came to a small country bridge over a stream, and on the side of the road was a beat-up old fading sign which read, Little Pleine River. I hadn't known until then that the river was a real one. And the song is a shanty boy song. The sun in the west was declining, and tinging the treetops with red. My wandering feet bore me onward, not caring whither they led. I happened to see a young schoolmarm. She mourned in a sorrowful strain. She mourned for a jolly young raftsman on the banks of the little old plain.
Alas, dear Johnny has left me. I'm afraid I shall see him no more. He's down on the lower Wisconsin. He's pulling a 50-foot oar. He went off on a fleet with Ross Gamble and has left me in sorrow and pain. And 'tis over 2 months since he started from the banks of the little old plain.
I stepped up beside this young schoolmarm, and thus unto her I did say, why is it you're mourning so sadly, while all nature is smiling and gay?
She said it is for a young raftsman, for whom I so sadly complain. He has left me alone here to wander on the banks of the little old plain.
If John Murphy's the name of your raftsman, I used to know him quite well. But sad is the tale I must tell you, your Johnny was drowned in the dells. They buried him 'neath the young willow. You will never behold him again. No stone marks the spot where your raftsman sleeps far from the little old plain.
My curses attend you, Wisconsin. May your rapids and falls cease to roar. May every towhead and sandbar be as dry as a log schoolhouse floor. May the willows upon all your islands lie down like a field of ripe grain, for taking my jolly young raftsman away from the little old plain.
The greatest legendary figure of the loggers was Paul Bunyan, about whom there are many stories and tall tales, but surprisingly no enduring songs. Paul Bunyan was supposed to have been the best logger of them all. One logger said once about Paul Bunyan's heroic labors, "When I got back to the woods this morning, chips was still falling from the day before." In The Frozen Logger, we are reminded of Paul Bunyan indirectly, because it is also about a larger-than-life woodsman. As I sat down one evening within a small cafe, a 40-year-old waitress to me these words did say,
I see you are a logger and not a common bum, for no one but a logger stirs his coffee with his thumb. My lover was a logger, there's none like him today. If you poured whiskey on it, he'd eat a bale of hay. He never shaved the whiskers from off of his horny hide, but he drove them
in the Pines is another tragic ballad of the dangerous logging business. Oh, Mary was a maiden when the birds began to sing. She was fairer than the blooming rose so early in the spring. Her thoughts were gay and happy, and the morning gay and fine. For her lover was a river boy from the river in the pines. Now Charlie, he got married to his Mary in the spring, when the trees were budding early and the birds began to sing. But early in the autumn, when the fruit is in the wine, I'll return to you, my darling, from the river in the pines. 'Twas early in the morning in Wisconsin's dreary clime, when he rode the fatal rapids for that last and fatal time. They found his body lying on the rocky shore below, where the silent water ripples and the whispering cedars blow. Now every raft of lumber that comes down the Chipaway, there's a lonely grave that's visited by drivers on their way. They plant wildflowers upon it in the morning fair and fine. 'Tis the grave of two young lovers from the river in the pines. The Flat River runs, they say, through Greenville, Michigan, and in that part of the country once, a long time ago, there was a lumberjack named Jack Haggerty. This is his story, and the story of his girl, known as the Flat River Girl. Come all you fine young fellers with hearts so warm and true, never believe in a woman, you're lost if you do. But if you ever see one with long brown chestnut curls, just think of Jack Haggerty and his Flat River Girl. Her form was like the dove, so slender and so neat. Her long brown chestnut curls hung to her tiny little feet. Her voice, it was like music or murmurs of the breeze, as she whispered that she loved me as we strolled among the trees. She was a blacksmith's daughter from the Flat River side, and I always had intended for to make her my little bride. But one day on the river a letter I received. She said that from her promise herself she had relieved. To her mother, Jane Tucker, I lay all the blame. She caused her to leave me and to blacken my good name. I counted her my darling, what a lady for a wife. When I think of her treachery, it nearly takes my life. So come all you fine young fellers with hearts so warm and true. Never believe in a woman, you're lost if you do. But if you ever see one with long brown chestnut curls, just think of Jack Haggerty and his flat river girl.